welcome to this edition of a Young Alumni Leadership Podcast video presented by collegegradlife.com. I'm Dustin Norman. Now remember, you can always contact me on Twitter at YALPHost, YALPHost, or you can email me at YALPHost@gmail.com. And I always encourage you to leave a comment or a video response below. Now this video is titled, How Being in More Places Helps God, Coke, and Facebook Make More Money. Now, I'm writing a program right now actually called Break the Mold, which is very focused specifically on the principles of success. And I mean the principles of success in terms of being happier, being able to start your own business, the mindset of an entrepreneur versus an employee, being a networker, being a good relationship builder, being a good partner in a client relationship, and just being a really good authentic leader. And I'm going to do a series of videos, like I said in the podcast, that is really based around some of the principles that I'm going to be talking about in Break the Mold. Now, the principle that I'm talking about today specifically is space, and it's kind of a harder concept to think about because it isn't something that you see, obviously, but it can be something that's a physical space, like a distance between, let's say, New York and Hong Kong, or it can be a space like the space between an idea of a Republican or a Democrat. And you can see how that space isn't something that you can see, but you realize that space can be quite vast depending on the person. Now, the way that I'm going to talk about this specifically is going to be in business, and that's just because I'm focused on a lot of the people who are entrepreneurs who watch this show or listen to the podcast or check out collegegradlife.com. And what I'm going to talk about now is about how space is used by companies to be able to make more money. Now, when we're talking about the first one, which is God, God obviously is a non-physical being. It's a representation of something that we hold in our minds and our bodies all the time. And I talk about this in the article on College Grad Life, specifically about how the church makes a lot of money off of God being ubiquitous, God being everywhere all the time, and being in a lot of different places at once. So even if you're not at a church, you can be in a constant state of sin, which makes it so that you have to go to the church and take communion to repent. And when you're there for 50 plus minutes, it makes it really easy for the church to be able to ask you for money and be able to get you to donate. Now that's the way that a church can make money off of being in more than one place at a time. Now, because it's a non-physical product in terms of it being God and spirituality, I want to go to a physical product and talk about how Coca-Cola is extremely successful in being in more than one place at one time. Now, Coca-Cola is one of the most dominant brands in the world, but where they're really dominant is actually in Africa, which is surprising considering that Africa has a really limited infrastructure, is constantly going through its own little turmoils, and doesn't have as much of a civilization when you think about a structured one as much as the Western civilization does. What Coca-Cola did was they recognized the niche societies that are going on, and they wanted to connect and make people entrepreneurs in their culture. So what they said was, if you're connected to 12 different people and you see them regularly, we can make you an independent distributor of Coca-Cola, which allows Coca-Cola to actually be the #1 selling brand of soft drink in Africa right now. And they're continuing to expand. And actually, if you go to collegegradlife.com, there's a video that I have inside the article, how being in more places helps God and Coke and Facebook. And there's a video specifically from Melinda Gates, Bill Gates' wife, about what nonprofits can learn in marketing from Coca-Cola and the way that they operate in Africa. So that's an example of how Coca-Cola can be in more than one places by empowering that one person. And it's something to think about if you're a leader too, because if you're a leader and you know that you're in charge of project managers, it's important for you to have that connection with project managers, to have that relationship with them so that they can continually confer your message down to the other team members who don't have a direct connection with you. That's an easy way for you to represent your own ideas through other people and be in as many different places as possible without actually being there physically, because you're able to give out your idea. Now, the third way that I'm going to talk about is specifically with Facebook. And I think this is obvious, but Facebook, the reason it's so successful is because they don't have a downside or a cost to being part of the company. It's free completely, which means that it can be in so many different platforms: laptops, desktops, iPhones, Android, BlackBerry, tablets, whatever. You name it, it can be there. Even on your TV, I'm sure, if you can surf the web on your Google TV. Excuse me. And what I think is really important in that concept is that when you're talking about doing anything in terms of being a leader, you want to make, or a leader or a business person or in a partnership through entrepreneurship, you want to really make sure that there's a low downside, a low hindrance, and a low cost to be able to work with you. Which means that's why you always want to be able to be somebody who's easy to get along with, somebody who's easy to help someone else, and someone who's more than willing to partner with new people and meet new people. Because unfortunately what we have right now is we have a large population of the people who are setting up walls around them. We feel really polarized. They're putting up walls to protect themselves and keep them in essentially a box, which neglects the ability for them to connect with other people, which is the natural way for people to be able to operate. And that's why you see so many different people who actually try to be successful, but because of this little principle about space and being a bridge builder and being able to be in more than one place at a time, they find it extremely difficult to find success, which it isn't hard to find success if you know how to use the same principles and techniques that other people use, just in the exact same way. But if you watch, mainstream media, or you pay attention to all these different ways that you're advertised to, you're going to constantly think that you need to stay in your little box because the world is so dangerous, which it's actually not. I mean, ask Steve Jobs. He flies to China all the time. I'm sure he flies to Africa. I'm sure he flies to Europe. I'm sure he flies to Australia. I'm sure he flies to South America. All these different places that are not that far away in his mindset. But if you ask somebody like, I'm from Minnesota. If you ask someone from Minnesota the distance between New York and Hong Kong, they'd say it was immense, depending. Or and that might not be true for some people as it is to others. And that's an important concept, again, is that it's really about the amount of space that you're willing to have and the amount of space that you're willing to allow. Certain people think that going from New York to Los Angeles is a long distance. Some people think that going from New York to Pennsylvania is a long distance. Some people think that going from Kansas to Florida is a long distance. It all depends on your perspective. While there's other people who think that going from New York all the way around the world to Hong Kong and then to Paris and then down to South Africa and then over to Brazil and then back to Mexico and then back to New York or LA, they don't think that's a long distance because their representation of space is completely different. But I guarantee you the people who think that space is a much more easy and navigatable gap are the people who are the most successful because they're the most easily open to connecting with new and far off ideas and different people. So just an idea for you. This goes along with the video again, how that being in more places helps God, Coke, and Facebook make more money. You can check it out on collegegradlife.com. And again, you can always contact me at YALPHost on Twitter, or you can email me at YALPHost@gmail.com. And I always encourage you to leave a comment or a video below. I know no one has yet, but I think that's you. I think it's you. I'm pretty sure it's you. I see you. And I just think that it's an important concept. So shoot me an email, hit me up on Twitter, leave a comment, check out College Grad Life, tell me what you think. And coming soon will be the Break the Mold series, which is really going to help teach the principles of success and how to be a good entrepreneur, and really how to be a good authentic leader so that you can understand how to be the best you possible, make the most money, and really feel happy. I think that's an important concept. So I just want to say have a happy and a healthy, and I will talk to you tomorrow. See ya.